Who was Jesus Christ and what was he doing here? So the information that I am going to be bestowing upon you in this video come again, once again, you will start to see the pattern here from the book The Law of One, which is a channeled book, a channeled material by a lady named Carla back in 1981, and the channeled entity is Ra, who is allegedly a sixth density being, a social memory complex. A sixth density, there are seven densities. It's kind of like the seven chakras, okay? So the information that I am going to be relaying with you for you here is from that book, okay? It's straight from the Law of One, about who Jesus was and what was his gig. What was he all about? What was he doing here? Well, like, I mean, what was this young Jewish man up to, right? Well, I mean, what was the deal? What was the gig? What was his role? What was his role in the cosmic drama? What was he doing here on planet Earth? So why did he die so young? What was the deal? What was the gig? What was the gig? What did he sign up for here? What did he come here to do? Okay, so according to Ra, the name of Jesus was Yeshua, I believe, Yeshua, right? And he was a fourth density being, so the heart chakra, and he was a high fourth density being. In fact, ready. He was ready to go to fifth density, the density of wisdom and light. Okay, he was cooked. He was ready to go. That's it. He was ready to go, and he did not have to actually come to earth. He did not have to take on the role of Yeshua, of Jesus, to go to fifth density. He was already cooked. He was ready to go now. He was ready to go to fifth. He's done his fourth density work, and he was basically, that's it. He was ready to put on his hat and his gown, and he's ready to graduate, go to fifth density, right? So, of course, he's been doing a lot of fourth density work. It's the density associated with love, with the heart, compassion, and so filled he was with the love and the compassion. I mean, he was graduating basically, right? If you graduate and you just graduated from, say, I don't know, you majored in history. I mean, you're fresh. History is fresh in your mind. It's fresh. It's right there. Could probably come in and ask you, when did Napoleon invade Russia? You would tell me, what was it, 1798 or something, or a little bit later, 1800 something. Anyway, I was really big into history, so when I was big into it, if you asked me, I would have told you exactly what year. But now I forget a little bit. But if I was a major in history and I just graduated, it would be fresh in my mind. So Jesus, here he is with his gown and his hat, and I guess his parents were there taking photos or whatever. Maybe his friends were there also. I don't know I guess they give you a graduation party up there, right? So he's fresh. He's been doing a lot of compassion and love work. He probably went on many, many missions around the cosmos, spreading love and compassion, for density work, right? So you want to graduate. And I guess, he saw that there's one last assignment that he could do, one last mission, which is to go to this dreadful, gloomy uh, place called planet Earth, third density, and essentially become a martyr, which is, he was a martyr, right? And spread some of that love, some of that fresh compassion, some of that fresh love that he's been working on for eons. Because in these higher densities, you work on this stuff for like millions of human years. So it's all fresh in his mind, and he's basically mastered the love, the heart chakra. So he comes down here, and if you realize, the difference between Jesus and Buddha, for example, you will see that Buddha emphasized a lot on wisdom, because Buddha was teaching from the fifth chakra, from the fifth density. Now, Jesus didn't, there isn't much wisdom there in Jesus. Jesus never really talked about like the illusion, the illusion of Maya, the nature of reality, which is all associated with wisdom, fifth chakra. Jesus was all about love one another, be kind to one another, feed the poor, Be kind to the outcasts in your society. I mean, he hung around prostitutes, he hung around poor people, he hung around criminals. His message was about love. He came here and he was basically a love martyr. He was just a fourth chakra love martyr. He was like, I'm here and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm here to spread love. Forget all that wisdom shit. You guys don't need it right now. Jesus never really talked about illusion and Maya and life being a dream and then like for example Buddha talked about the nature of self. The three marks of existence: impermanence, life being unsatisfactory, impermanence, and then anatman, then the false self, that you're connected and there is no you, essentially the false nature of ego. Jesus never preached any of that stuff because he wasn't here to do that stuff. He was here for a heart chakra full density mission. Jesus damn well knew that the ego is an illusion and then through the nature of self is illusory and all that, and he was ready to go to the fifth. He's graduating, so he's going to learn more about that stuff. But he came here, he's like, I'm here, I'm a love martyr, I'm a love messenger here. So what was most of his message? Feed the poor, be kind to one another, healing, lots of healing work, fourth chakra stuff. He'd go and he'd heal the blind and all that stuff. So yeah, that was Jesus' gig, essentially. He came here, he knew he was gonna get crucified, right? He knew he was gonna get crucified. He came here fully knowing that that's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna get crucified here, and I'm gonna be compassionate to those who crucify me. And so it turns out, according to the Law of One, the book The Law of One, Jesus was not an enlightened being, not a fully enlightened, and probably neither was Siddhartha Gautama, which is what we refer to as the Buddha. And I believe, now I don't think the Law of One talks about Buddha per se, but I believe, just based on my understanding of this, that even Buddha wasn't fully enlightened, although he taught more about what full enlightenment is. Even Ra, the channeled entity, is not fully enlightened. It's a sixth density. You only become fully enlightened at the seventh density. So Jesus is not a fully enlightened being. Jesus is not a fully enlightened being. Jesus is another fellow soul on this very, very long journey of the soul back to its source. And it's a never-ending journey, by the way. Once you finish and you become fully enlightened, you go back into first density. You go back again, the game resets. So it never ends. But it turns out Jesus was not a fully enlightened being, right? And Jesus says, you will do what I do and more. Jesus was fully aware that he's himself is not fully enlightened. You see? So it turns out the game is much bigger than we thought. I was before learning about this stuff, I was under the impression that Jesus was enlightened. We had a fully enlightened, fully awakened, fully done with the whole cosmic game. But it turns out no, he's graduated from the fourth and he was going straight to the fifth. And he just thought one more mission, one more assignment here on planet Earth. Short one, 33 years or something, right? Short one, love martyr, revolutionized the game here. He came here and he revolutionized it. He spread the message of the fourth chakra, the heart chakra. And so the number of beings that actually come here that are fully enlightened, fully done with the game, 7th density, is like slim, very slim to none, actually. Because I'm not sure about this now, don't quote me on this, but I believe when you're in the 7th density, you don't even come to Earth anymore. You don't really come here anymore. I guess you could. But the truth is it's very rare actually to have a fully enlightened being come to planet Earth. It turns out everybody's doing their work. Everybody's at some point or other in one of the densities, from 1 to 6, right? And everybody's doing some kind of work here. Jesus was coming here to finish up with the heart chakra and move on to the wisdom, to move on to the fifth. And according to Ra, he's somewhere now in the cosmos working in the fifth. Fifth chakra, fifth density work, wisdom. So he's not just hanging out in pure bliss and pure light. Jesus is also doing his work now in the fifth density, right? He came here in his fourth, his green body, his fourth chakra body was activated, which is why he was able to perform all these miracles and do all these things. He had all these powers innately because he came in here, and I guess the folks back home, his buddies and stuff, they helped him out by activating some of his powers. Right? He came here. I guess they activated some of his powers, and so he was able to do all this stuff innately. He just was able to do it. You see, and since he died on the cross, he's moved on to fifth density now. He's doing fifth density work. You see, the density of wisdom and light. So Jesus was not a fully enlightened being, at least according to Ra, which for me, the message resonates. Right? I don't know about Gautama, Siddhartha Gautama. He did have talks of full enlightenment, but perhaps he was also a fifth or sixth density being. And you will see in Siddhartha Gautama's teachings, the Buddha, the emphasis is mostly on wisdom. So he was operating from the fifth density. So he might have been a fifth density being or sixth density being, maybe a sixth density being, who came down here. And look at Buddhism. Buddhism is all about wisdom. They say wisdom and compassion, but look, it's like wisdom. It's like wisdom. Detachment, wisdom, illusion, and Atman. The self doesn't exist. Whereas you see that none of that is really in Jesus' teachings, which explains that these beings who came here are just, they're doing different work here. They're operating from different densities. And so you look at all over Siddhartha Gautama's teachings, it's all wisdom. All of it is wisdom. Wisdom, illusion, the self doesn't exist, anatman. Life is unsatisfactory, this and that. Jesus never said any of that stuff, because Jesus' thing, his gig, was a different gig than the Buddha's gig, than Babaji's gig. I don't know what Babaji's up to. He's been alive since the Roman times, hanging out in the Himalayas. Right? Maybe Baba, I don't know. Maybe Babaji is a 6 or 7. Maybe he's a 7 density. Maybe he's actually fully enlightened. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly how the game works, but I do understand now that Jesus was 4th and now into 5th density. Pretty cool, isn't it? Pretty cool to see how massive the game is, how long time and space are stretched out, how much work the soul does before it gets to source, how massive the game is. The game of it's a game. God separates itself and goes back into itself, and it really literally takes billions of years to do that. Okay, I think the work to go from 4th density or from 3rd density to 6th density is 2 billion years. 2 billion years. You're looking at some of the humans here who are 3rd density. They've got 2 billion years before moving to 6th density. 2 billion years in the cosmos. Massive, exciting, interesting, awe-inspiring, really. Consciousness, God, you, which is you, really. Brilliant, really, really brilliant being with an expansive sense of play. This is all the play of the divine, what the Hindus call Maya. And you could see that a lot of the Hindu teachings, the Indian philosophy, the Indian teachings do come from 5th and 6th density. You do see that a lot of it comes from 5th and 6th density for sure. It's a lot of wisdom. It's all about piercing through the illusion. And then you see a lot of Jesus' teachings are all from the 4th chakra, from the heart. It's about giving. It's about, not to say that stuff is not in Hindu teachings. Karma yoga, for example, who was taught in the Bhagavad Gita, is all about service. So it's there also. But you see that there is more of a tendency for Indian teachings to be, based on piercing through illusion, wisdom, light, 5th and 6th, 5th mostly. And you see that a lot of the Christian teachings, the Jesus teachings, are based on love and giving and service and kindness. You see, and it's because, again, it's because the beings who came here to teach these things were here for different gigs. No better, no worse. Just the planet needs as much elevation as possible. Uh, the guardians and the managers in the amusement park will send different people for different assignments in different locations. Okay, I mean, in that Middle East, when you had the Romans and stuff, God, did they need some love? Did they need some compassion? The Romans were brutal, and everybody under the jurisdiction of the Roman Empire it's brutal. So you need a fourth density graduate, fresh graduate, to go to that region and spread that message there, right? Because again, it was just like brutal. Things were very brutal there in the Middle East and in the Mediterranean, and the Roman Empire was like a deeply Orion-based, reptilian-based civilization. It was purely about conquer and conquest and control. So we needed a groovy fella like Jesus to go there, and a fresh graduate from fourth density to spread that message. You see? So yeah, very, very cool, very interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. So yeah, shout out to my man Jesus for taking on a pretty difficult assignment, knowing that he's gonna be a martyr. So shout out to you, Jesus. Shout out to you, my man. Shout out to you. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you to all the Patreons for your support. I love making these videos, and I love you guys, and I really appreciate your support for this mission. You appreciate the mission, and you resonate with it, and you actually support. So if you want to support, a couple of bucks a month is all, that's all. But it adds up if enough people do it. And the more resources we have, the more things we could do as a community. This is a community, okay? And yeah, yeah, yeah. And Side Mobile Instagram, okay? If you want to talk about anything, love you guys. And until next time, may the force be with you.